Penny Burke, welcome to 5 Minutes with O.
Penny, you've got such a strong background in marketing and advertising. We don't usually think of that relating to keynote speaking. How does that work?
Yeah, good question. Look, I started my career in advertising and I worked with some very famous ads. I think my first ever ad was Pro Hart Stainmaster Carpet. Mr. Hart, what a mess. And I also worked on milk legendary stuff with a randy milkman bonking half the neighbourhood, and Not Happy Jan for Yellow Pages.
We all know that.
We all know that. There's always someone in the keynote audience called Jan, so we talk about that. But I guess the really interesting thing about that is what you learn working in advertising is how to sell. You really understand how to sell, and after 20 years in that business, that's really what I know best. So I think it's a very easy step then to explain to people who are interested in an internal capacity about how to sell. Now, certainly an advertising process has the outcome of a piece of television film or a catalogue or a press ad or whatever. Often in internal companies, it's not so much a piece of footage, but it's still a really important outcome that people need to understand, because all of us are selling a message. The CEO is selling a message to the stock market or to his board or to his senior management. Senior management are selling a message to their people. Line staff are selling a message to a person who is buying the product from them. So everybody in the organisation is interested in selling, and all I do is take the tricks of the trade that you learn in an advertising sense and apply that internally to teach people how to sell.
You make it so much fun though. Please share a bit of the story of what you do with employee engagement, because I've never heard it as much fun as when you do it.
No, and look, there's a number of things that we talk about in particular. There's probably three main areas. So it's about selling leadership, obviously, for those people who are involved in leadership. It's about frontline sales for sales staff. But it is, as you said, it's also about employee engagement and selling that. And like at the end of the day, I sort of try and get audiences to think about the whole process of sales as like a relationship. And the first time that you went out with your partner and you were really interested in making this a long-term thing, not just a one-night stand. Because we all know that selling is about not just getting one sale, but getting repeat sales. So this is about how to build a long-term relationship. And what are some of the things that you did when you first went out with that chap? Well, if you went out for dinner, you didn't just rabbit on about yourself for hours. You asked your fella to talk about what interested him. It's processes like this, the thinking around how to sort of build that connection and get that understanding of the emotional space, not just the functional things that you do that make a difference in the workplace. I mean, sure, after you've been married for a long time, people leave the toilet seat up and leave the lid off the toothpaste. That kind of thing happens inside an organisation as well. So it's actually about what you can do to understand functionally you're there to do a job, you're in a team and you have to work together, and you're handed the memo that's told what the new corporate vision is. That's fine. But emotionally, what's going on behind that? And how do you use your understanding of that to build greater connection? And if you can do that, then that will result in greater sales if you're talking externally, but greater commitment and greater engagement if you're talking internally.
It sounds like the staff have a lot of fun.
So the keynotes are on sales, leadership and employee engagement.
Absolutely. Anywhere where there's a role for selling internally, this is really taking a traditional perspective of external marketing and applying it internally. So anywhere there's a place for sales, that is where the keynote is useful for people to understand those principles. It may differ. Obviously, the kind of actions that you'll undertake in an employee engagement exercise might be different in leadership, but the fundamental rules and principles are actually the same.
I always appreciate when a keynote speaker can also do workshops, consulting, roll out some long-term learning. Tell me, how do you roll it out afterwards?
Look, to be honest, doing the rollout and the implementation is, having had 20 years in the career of marketing and advertising, implementation, actually making it happen in team workshops, etc., is really where the success is. The keynotes are fantastic. I have a lot of fun. I think I really engage people in the room, and everyone has a good laugh and learns the kind of key lessons that you need. But workshops give you an understanding and an opportunity to really develop that in a bit more detail. We design lots of exercises to get people to think things through, so it's not necessarily as passive as when you're sitting in a keynote environment, and it's the sort of thing that we do best. So we quite like doing the workshop and really bringing it to fruition, not just hearing it here but delivering on it there.
Penny, thanks for spending 5 minutes with O.